Hey everybody, happy Saturday night. Today's September 28th, 2024. This is Across the Pitch postgame show. Jose, he's got some family function. Dave is out in England, had a very long day watching and covering his Gillingham FC. So tonight, I'm joined by special guest Kyle Kreiger. Hopefully I pronounced that last name correctly,
You
Kyle.
did.
Awesome.
That you did. That you did. And you're one of the few who gets it right the first time.
Listen, I have to thank my grammar teacher from fifth grade for this one. Anyway, Kyle, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I appreciate the last minute sub here. How are you doing today?
Hanging in there, just trying to stay dry with all the rain that's going on, the on and off aspect of it. But yeah, doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm pretty good. It's been a long day. I was looking forward to this match, and it's certainly not the outcome we were hoping for. But before we discuss the match too much, can you tell the people who are watching some of your background? Where can they find your content, and what do you do for covering the Uni?
All right. Well, I am Kyle Krieger. I am mainly a photographer for Streampunk Entertainment and Streampunk Sports. You've probably seen a few of us on occasion with either JD or Scott. Generally, I work with them with the Union games and usually also their wrestling content.
Hmm.
I helped run a wrestling show on the channel for a while. You can find us at streampunkent.com. Stream STREAM, not Steam. So Streampunk Entertainment or Streampunk ENT, and yeah, it's generally you'll see a lot of my photography there. So
Awesome.
I'm not really a writer. I'm the guy who takes all the pictures.
Yeah, listen, I love the work you guys do for Stream Punk. I've been lucky enough to have sat in for your Seton Hall coverage
Mm-hmm.
last season. I got to cover for a couple games last year. Hopefully, I can squeeze one in this year as well. But you guys do some great content. I think JD's covers the Jets a bit sometimes too. You've had
Yes.
some Jets shows, so that North Jersey, presence certainly is felt with some of your content, which is okay at times. Down here in South Jersey, Philly, maybe that's kind of not so much, but it's still good content. Again, I appreciate you joining me, and hopefully we can have you guys on as a collective soon to kind of discuss some Union or anything else in between. But tonight, Kyle, the Union, we're hosting Atlanta. High expectations for this match in a high pressure situation. Really, what it came down to was two teams fighting for the last few playoff spots. Atlanta right on our heels, and you end with a home draw when you had the lead for a majority of the match. So I know we discussed it a bit. Just what's your initial reaction? 10 minutes after the loss, how are you feeling?
Depressed. This was out of the four games that were left in the season, including this one. This was one of them that I had circled as a must-win game. Atlanta, while very close to Philly in the standings, they're still ranked below us, so they're also fighting for that playoff spot.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was one of the must-win games, especially considering they're going to be facing Columbus next month. They're going to be facing I was about to say Columbus again. You got Columbus, you got Cincinnati, and you got
Mm-hmm.
Orlando next. So out of the four remaining games, they need to. Well, now they need to win out, but before it was like they needed at least two wins out of the remaining four to have a fighter's chance of getting that last spot, and this was one of the main ones
And if you
because they
want
were
to
so close in the standing.
exactly, and if you want to expand on that even more, I believe, if I remember correctly, you had a game in hand on Toronto, and you were tied in points with Toronto. The only thing differentiating that was the goal differential not being the tiebreaker. They go for wins and
Mm-hmm.
losses with the tiebreaker. So really, you had a chance to hop over Toronto to sit in the eighth spot. I mean, even seventh spot, they're only 5 points behind, was not an impossibility with a few games left. They really could have had a few things fall their way. But the problem with this is what we said several times this year already. The Philadelphia Union have dropped so many points in leading positions, and they've blown so many games. And this was the perfect example. And I mentioned on Twitter earlier today, I'm watching that first half hour. Actually, I was watching the first 10 minutes. I'm like, all right, they're controlling a lot of the ball. They're really putting pressure. 15, 20 minutes went by. I'm like, they're still controlling the ball. They're putting a lot of pressure. Then that first 35 minutes passed, and then Atlanta started to kind of creep back into the game. And I said, "Oh boy, this is when I thought Atlanta's going to squeeze out a goal to end the half, which they almost did. They just missed the target at the end of that first half, but it certainly felt like the Union had this game in hand, and they just completely lost control of it. And again, we'll talk about the subs. We'll talk about the second half in a bit. But first half, let's talk about the first half first. What were your thoughts on that first half hour, or even the first 45 minutes in total?
Well, it looked promising at first.
Yeah.
Like McGlynn was taking some shots. They were on target. Kudos to the Atlanta keeper for making the saves that when he needed to.
Hmm.
Kudos to the defenders for stopping the shots. So it's like the Union were taking the shots that they needed to take,
Yeah.
which was a nice change of pace from what we had seen previous to the last winning to the past couple games, like during the midpoint of the season when they're on that like really bad losing streak. They
Hmm.
were not taking shots.
Yeah.
Even when they had them open, they weren't taking it. Now they are,
Hmm.
which is a very good sign. So looking at it, I was very hopeful that at least something went in, and eventually something did, thankfully.
Yeah.
But but looking at the stats here, it's like out of the full game, they had 23 shot attempts with 7 on goal,
Yeah.
only able to convert one of them.
Yeah.
That's not that good, but good
And that
for them taking shots. Sorry.
and no, I think it's a great point. And there were certain times where I saw McGlynn. There's one moment in particular with McGlynn. He had the chance to take on his right, and he tried to switch to his left. And I was like, I understand. I understand a player. Listen, I'm right-footed. He's left-footed. I get that you go to the most dominant foot. I get it, but there's certain times where you just have to take the chances when you could. Now Atlanta did a great job just kind of clogging out the middle. They really did not let anything in through in terms of a shot on goal from the center. But it's like you got to take the chance when they had him. And I know that's on his best foot, but I was hoping there was a couple times when he could have at least ripped one. I think even Kai Wagner had a chance with his right foot that he ended up trying to bring back to his left. And I remember, if I remember correctly, I think even the commentators had highlighted like Quinn Sullivan was kind of coming over to the left a bit to help out, to kind of, because that's where a lot of the action was happening, on the left hand side of the field, and it just didn't seem like they
Mm-hmm.
could get anything going to that angle. In terms of the scores, though, and again, I know we're kind of talking about the drop points, the missed opportunities. A lot of things that are happening tonight where, Orlando's up 2-0 on Dallas. Chicago and Toronto. Toronto, we were just talking about a few minutes ago, they're up 1-0 at halftime against Chicago. So you think, man, Toronto's going to pull a 3-point win tonight, maybe, right? And now
Maybe.
you had you could at least keep up with them, and now you're definitely, not only are
Mm-hmm.
you behind on the win totals, but now you're behind an extra 2 points.
Yeah.
Other scores around the league here. Let's see. Look here. DC United and Columbus, a hell of a match, 2-2.
Mm-hmm.
LAFC beat Cincinnati 2-1. LAFC coming off their Open Cup championship this past Wednesday. Charlotte drew Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Things fell in place a bit for you. Granted, NYCFC beat New York Red Bulls 5-1. That's actually that's a pretty big result for NYCFC.
Yes, it is.
But again,
I'm sure Scott's going crazy with that one.
I was gonna say Scott's probably having himself a good night. Yeah, there was a
Yeah.
lot of action in the East, and again that Toronto match. If Chicago comes back and pulls off a draw, great. The Union don't really suffer too much. But again, it's another missed opportunity, which we've seen with this club time and time again. I know. And again, you mentioned McGlynn, you mentioned taking shots. Anything else from that first half that you might have noticed before we kind of hop into the second frame here?
Uh, Not really. It's like they were having a good first half. It was
Hmm.
something that was nice to see, and it gave me hope for the second half. But as we will go into in the second half, it was not to be. It was just not to be.
Not to be. So you go into the half scoreless. It was actually a fairly clean first half. I think there was only about 6 calls. There was
Yeah.
no cards. It was a very clean half. Overall, I think it was fine with the referee. I really didn't have too much to say about him.
Nah,
Um, but you
unlike some games.
unlike some games where they are the center of attention.
Oh yeah.
But you go into that second half, and now the first. I'm trying to look at when the Union scored a goal. Bear with me here 1 second. They scored a goal in the 61st, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
So
61st minute.
it was about the 55th minute, and I'm thinking like, man, Flock is in the six. I understand the benefit of having Flock back there. It allows everybody else to kind of go up. You can really just have him sit back, and he's fast enough and he's good enough defensively. He covers you. But there was a point where I was thinking, like, man, I would love to see someone like Bueno or Danley come in there and just give an extra offensive push, because they started that first half exactly how I wanted them to start. They were on the offensive, they were trying to attack, and they just weren't getting there. But then Flock kind of made me shut my mouth because the ball gets sent back to towards Blake. Leon actually has a really nice pass to Quinn at probably about 20, 30 yards out.
Mm-hmm.
Quinn, Kai, Nathan Harriel, we have a goal. I think Flock in that regard really made me eat my words there. But what were your thoughts on that first 15 minutes of the second half, obviously including Nathan Harriel's goal?
Well, For one thing, congratulations to Kai Wagner.
Yes,
With that assist, he sets the club record for the most MLS assists in the regular season.
that's amazing.
That's fantastic. So congratulations to Kai Wagner for that one. But yeah, or yeah, for the Union,
Yeah, for the Union.
or
Yep, right, right.
sorry,
Yep. No, you're
sorry,
fine.
yeah. But for the most part, they came into the second half doing what they were doing in the first half. The
Hmm.
one main difference that I did see is that they were paying extra attention to both McGlynn and Baribo.
Yes, yes. Okay.
So they kind of had a tie on a bit of a more of a even a bit more of a lockdown in the second half than what we saw in the first half as well. So it basically they were forcing the Union to rely on Ura.
Yeah. And that's
And while Ura can absolutely go on fire,
hmm
this was not one of those games.
no, and I thought well early on he almost had a goal and it got called
Oh,
off offside. And I was
yes.
like, here we go again. There's Mikel scoring within the first 20 minutes of his match.
Yep.
But I also we noticed Nathan Harriel was kind of getting more involved on the right hand side,
Yes.
and we've seen Quinn and Nathan really do well together. Besides this match, have you liked the pairing of Quinn and Nathan so far on the right hand side of that
Uh,
field?
I mean, it was better than what they had previously, I think.
It's
But
fair.
but uh I think they need more time to
Hmm.
really develop that chemistry. It when it clicks, it's very very good.
Yeah.
It's something great to see, but it's like if the opponents are aware
Mhm.
of that, they can they can insert themselves to break that up surprisingly easy depending on the game.
Yeah, and so like I was talking to Dave Miller about this. Nathan Harriel, obviously very athletic,
Hmm.
extremely good in the air. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
really great in the air. Probably the best one of all of us in the air, of
Hmm.
all the Union players in the air.
Yep.
I do sometimes think that he's better suited at center back than he is at the right back.
I agree.
And because which is I mean, I listen, you're comparing you just mentioned Kai Wagner, the
Hmm.
all-time leader in assists for the Union. That's an amazing stat. So I get that the bar is super high on the left-hand side of the field,
Yes.
and you're not going to have both of your right and left backs at that high level. But I do sometimes wish that the Harriel had a bit better of a touch from the right. Go ahead.
Yes.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, it's like if they have the potential to
Yeah,
do it.
yeah.
Like Harriel has that potential. And if he, and as I mentioned before, if he and Sullivan click during a game, you can have something similar on both sides, which that's what the Union had previously.
Yeah,
So in past seasons before all the moves and this season,
yeah,
like one of the reasons why they were so effective in the midfield was because there was no real weakness.
yeah.
So opponents couldn't like force it to one side and a force like the second tier players to have to step up their game.
Hmm.
Like previously they were able to do that, but Harriel has those shades of greatness.
Yes, he does. And I think also the problem is that we really expect Olivier to kind of have more of a breakout role
Yeah.
last. I think last year, I know me and Kyle Almany were like, Olivier is due for his big breakout season, and it just never hit. Now, granted, Olivier
Yeah.
has played well in certain stints this season. He's done well in other parts last year, obviously the year before, but Olivier has that one-on-one ability that Nathan I think is still kind of learning, but I
Mm,
don't think Olivier's passing is where we thought it would be. And then
yeah.
Nathan Harrell, obviously such a young player, such a talented player, still also developing that too. But
Yeah.
again, it was nice to see him more involved on the right hand side. Obviously, he
Yes.
gets center on that shot on goal, scores a goal. Now they
Hmm.
score a goal. How are you feeling in this match after they score? They're up 1-0.
Well, with Blake and goal today, I was feeling good. I was like, okay, if we can, we got the lead. We
Yeah.
can do it. As we just need to keep holding strong. But unfortunately, a crack happened in the defense.
Well, let's talk about that. So
Yeah.
something that we right, I mean, you mentioned to me right off the bat with the substitutions being something that you bring the subs, you're hoping that they can hold the fort, and it ends up being maybe will cost us the game here. So
Yeah.
you replace. Let me look at my list again. You replace McGlynn with Bedoya. You replace Ua with Danley Jean Jacques.
Hmm.
And now what you do with the formation, I think you're spot on. I think they went 4-3-2-1 with the
Yep.
formation change. So you had the back four, and then it looked like you had Flock, Danley, Bedoya, Gazlag, Sullivan, and Baribo up top.
Hmm.
Now, what were your thoughts on that weird change, the weird substitutions, and how they
I
looked after that?
I feel that they were switching their formation, and it's like I'm not sure if they weren't ready for it or if there was a miscommunication or something like that.
Yeah,
But but like the goal happened right after the substitutions.
yep,
And while I guess I could understand McGlynn getting swapped out for Bedoya, even though McGlynn was the one who was taking the shots, which I think that might they noticed something or if he was tired or something, I don't know. But I would have swapped someone else with Bedoya, like I would have swapped Flotch with Bedoya
right.
instead, and let McGlynn keep taking shots and maybe sub him out later on. But looking at the list, I realized that Ura got a yellow in the 68th minute. That's probably why they subbed him out.
And well, I mean, and listen, and Mikel's been subbed out consistent on a
Mhm.
regular
Yeah.
basis. He's often gone for 7 minutes. Sean brings up a good point. Got to stop coaching scared. We have zero
Yes.
success
Thank you.
parking the bus. Sean, that was the first thing I thought of. Is like this is such a union performance where like okay,
Yeah.
the teams know if you park the bus on the union, if you don't let them counter, you can absorb their so ability to press you
Mhm.
offensively, and you just kind of wait for that opportunity. And I was actually looking online to see if maybe Jim Curtin had gone to the stand yet to see if I look at any sort of notes from there. I'm on Twitter right now trying to find any of my people on there. But to your point, I feel like I would have rather seen Danley come on at your six and put Quinn on the left for Flock. If you're going to take Bedoya or Ua out, put somebody else up top that's a forward. I don't know
Mhm.
what Curtin's obsession is with putting Quinn Sullivan up top. Todd Lewis on the show has said about it. Other people have said about it. They love putting Quinn up top. He's much more better off as a midfield on the right. So if you keep Quinn on the right, if you bring Danley in, put him in the diamond on either left or the right. You can put Quinn on the left. You can put Danley on the right. Danley has incredible speed. He's obviously very talented. I've been wanting to see Danley on the right hand side for a long time. If you wanted to take U out because of yellow card, that's fine. Bring Sam in. We'll get to Sam Denner in a few minutes. I didn't think Flock was playing bad at the six. I think he was doing a fine job. It just seemed like they were overcomplicating things a little bit too much. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
they
Go ahead.
yeah, they kind of were. It just I honestly, instead of Quinn Sullivan being brought in, maybe they should have brought in his brother.
On his birthday.
Exactly. That would have been pretty cool.
That would have been
And
such the
honestly,
headline. So
and
go ahead.
honestly, I think he probably would have been more effective than Danley there, or at least
Listen,
could potentially.
maybe I was curious if they were up to nothing, they would have brought Kevin in just because it's his
Mm,
birthday kind of thing. I don't think he would have brought him in the game like that
yeah. It's
because
still
Curtin,
only 15.
Curtin would have been blasted if they lose the game because of the Kevin Sullivan. Excuse me, real quick. I'm gonna just put Sean's comment up. Another sub that can't be brought on anymore
Mm,
is Sam. He just doesn't have it. And again, Sean, we're gonna get to Sam in 1 second. But if you look at the goal that was scored, it was just almost unfortunate timing. If you look at the replay closely, you see Flock kind of looking left, right, kind of watching his man, and he looks to his right as the ball is kind of shooting across, and you see he reacts late to it, and he jumps and lunges for it, and that's when everything happens. And as the ball cycling to the other side of the field, Nathan Harrell's man is right behind Glasses, and he's just watching him for a couple moments too long. And then the header is actually a brilliant header, to be perfectly
oh
honest.
yeah. Oh, it was a great shot.
What did you think of the Atlanta goal?
Uh, well, they made the most out of their one shot on goal for the game. That's for sure. It like looking at the stat line, they had 11 shots with
Yeah,
only one on goal, and what do you know? They're 100% effective.
absolutely, absolutely.
Ugh,
So
that's like one of the worst things to see. It's like you're dominant. It's like you're winning the midfield. You're winning on the shots. You have way more shots on goal, and you end in a draw because the one shot they got, hey, went to the back of the net.
and it's only 10 minutes after your goal.
Yeah,
No. it wasn't like it was 45 minutes later. It wasn't that long after you took the
No,
lead and really had momentum going.
no. I think that they were relying on Blake to be Blake, which it's like Blake is usually good for 0 to 1 goals, with maybe a really bad exception if you're playing Miami or something like that.
Yeah.
But yep, it's like I don't know.
Well,
It's yeah.
to Sean's initial comment, stop coaching scared.
Yep.
I think that might have came into it tonight. Eric, our good pal Eric from the show, says about what I expected. They can't raise their level of play when they needed it, and they didn't have a great schedule the rest of the way. Hard to be upset anymore. The Union do that often. Win every stat, you draw or lose games. Eric is my favorite commenter off just from his cynicism alone. So I know he's gonna bring it in hot tonight.
Guy after my own heart.
Yeah, he's a great one here. So Jim Curtin took the stand. I want to look at Philadelphia Soccer Now on Twitter, PHL Soccer Now. Curtin said, "We came out well in the second half. We got our goal. It was a night where there were a lot of shots. Probably would like more on target. Just couldn't get that second goal tonight." I've heard that before. Again, Curtin says on the stand, "It's going to go down to the last day. We put ourselves in a position where we are still in control of our own destiny, but dropping those 2 points tonight makes it more difficult." Again, Curtin on getting a draw. Again, Curtin continues. At that stage, we make some changes to bring in some fresh legs and experienced guys. A little bit unlucky, and they score pretty quickly. But it's not the guys who came in fault. A lot of little mistakes on their goal. Curtin on the Atlanta goal after the subs. Again, he's going to keep going. I'm going to keep reading this quote. Atlanta defended the box really well tonight. They had a lot of guys back. We created a lot, but not a lot of those clear-cut chances that we like to see. Okay, right here.
Not wrong.
Not a lot of those clear-cut chances that we like to see. To Sean's point.
Any of them.
To Sean's point, if you don't, if those are the things you like to see, then you have to create those chances and find ways around it. That's just, again, my last thing about Curtin tonight says, it's never easy. We miss an opportunity tonight. 1 point, you're never happy with that at home. And that's basically my run of Curtin's thing. Again, from PHL Soccer Now on Twitter. I'm going to shoot to you in a second. I'm going to put up Eric's comment real quick. He says, always more difficult. One issue I've always had with Curtin is while playoff-wise they do fine, they cannot get badly needed points in the final quarter of the season. Eric, I'm going to bring up some PTSD. The Charlotte match on the road, 2022, you lose 4-0 in the hunt for the Supporter Shield. LAFC ends up winning the Shield that year. I've talked a lot. Thank you all for hearing me. Kyle, what do you have thoughts on what Curtin said tonight?
Well, he wasn't wrong in his assessment, but I think the timing of the subs was a little weird. It's like I understand why, but I think the timing was a little weird. They subbed in a little bit too early, in my opinion.
Interesting.
But
okay.
like I think that the sub should have happened maybe 5 to 10 minutes later.
Okay. Why do you think that is?
At least when the Union get control of the ball again. Because I don't know. It like I said before, with the Atlanta goal, I think there was a miscommunication in the defense.
I think so too.
And being that was right after the subs, it someone might have thought, okay, my teammate will take care of it, while the other one thought the exact same thing, and then he just walks right through him.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
He felt, and the funny thing is too, and I'm sure some people watching commenting will agree. There are times when Jim waits so long to make a sub.
Yes.
You
can't win.
And you can't win. And a lot of times he'll say, you know what, we waited to make a sub because they were playing well. And that's kind of what I thought was going to happen tonight. Like, you weren't playing bad tonight.
Yeah.
You weren't playing great, but you weren't playing bad. You're playing good.
They're having one of their better midfield games of the season. They were as we said before, they were controlling the ball well. They were taking shots, which like I said before, that's what I really was happy to see.
Yeah.
Because he mentioned before. Well, he mentioned is like yeah, we didn't get the shots that we were waiting for. That's not necessarily a bad thing. And as you mentioned before, you got to create those. You got to create your opportunities. And unfortunately, aside from maybe Baribo, who was marked by like three defenders the
Yeah.
entire game.
They must have been looking at the last couple games, he said, because they were definitely on top of him
Oh,
tonight.
absolutely. So that puts the onus on the rest of the team to create plays, and unfortunately, they were doing more of what they normally do in just bouncing back and forth. And like I said, aside from McGlynn taking the shots,
Again,
yeah,
Curtin mentions tonight, we floated too many crosses into the box. Crosses from the sidelines are low percentage plays. I thought that we settled too much. And that's fine. I understand that maybe that's what Atlanta was giving you,
they still
but
had 7 shots on goal.
you still had enough. The chances were there. So
Yeah.
this is when I want
Yes.
to go back to Sean's point.
Mhm.
So Sam Adeniran. Kyle, again, I know we're all busy. I don't know how much you've watched of Sam Adeniran so far this season. What are your initial thoughts on him as his, in his short Union career?
Uh, I haven't really seen enough to really get a good judgment on him, but from thus far, as not as good as I would have hoped.
Not as good as I would have hoped. I think he started off fine. I think he had Eric's point. My thoughts. I'll bring it up real quick. Why is he here? And then Sean, perfect segue. Sean, you're a really great commenter tonight. I appreciate it. Never thought I'd say Donovan is a better option than Sam. So here's what I said on Twitter. I said, I said, yeah, well, that's the thing. I said it made as much sense for Donovan to start over Brebo as it does for Sam to be starting over Donovan, because Sam just has a very poor touch. Yes, I understand he's got a good shot on target. Sometimes he had that one shot from the far end of the box that almost curled in. Then he also had that sitter that he missed at the center of the
Yeah.
box. He just seems like he's constantly almost tripping over his own feet in a way.
He kind of turns into, it's like, yeah, you might have a good shot, but if you're just going to give it away, you're not going to take that. You're not going to get that shot.
Exactly. I think was it the goal? Was it the goal last week? I think it was Quinn Sullivan's goal. No, it was Bueno's goal in the last match. He ends up passing it behind Sullivan to get before the goal. So, like, yeah, I know it created a goal chance, but like it wasn't exactly the prettiest thing in the world. But I understand he's playing right now. Well, it's right, exactly. I understand he's playing right now because of the contract issue. I know they have to see what they can get from him. But I
Yeah.
think to Sean's point, at least Donovan gave you hustle. He gave you work rate. Donovan also knows the system really well. He has also, to Chris Donovan's credit, I don't care what anybody says, he's had some actually pretty important goals for the Union.
Yes, he has, and I do like how you brought up the point. It is a contract. It is that they are definitely playing Sam more because of the contract. I think you bring that up. I'm like, I didn't realize that it was a contract for him.
But then at the same time, you offer Jesus Bueno a longer contract, and he can't see the field.
Yeah. Yep.
So do you understand the confusion is going brain? It just doesn't make sense. And I get it. People are saying Sam Adeniran's an MLS caliber player. Chris Donovan is not. I understand that. But the problem is
How do you
Sam
get
is.
to that point? Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you. Here we go. Again, Sean says you're in a playoff race.
Yeah.
Screw the contract. You
Exactly.
cannot play somebody who's in a slump in a playoff match. This is for all intents and purposes a playoff match. Go ahead.
It to pull out some baseball.
Yeah.
It feels like the same excuse that Aaron Boone gives whenever someone's in a slump and he keeps playing him. It's like, well, he's got to break out of the slump eventually. Yeah, but you're in a playoff race right now, and yeah, sure, well, it'd be great for him to break out. He ain't breaking out.
And listen, it's a great point. I know we saw it last year, I think, with Kimbrel in the playoffs of the Phillies. It's just one of those things where a coach tries to fix a player. And again, credit to him. I understand players have to go through that slump sometimes.
Yeah.
But there's a time and place. And I don't think Sam being here at the time. Sean says he's the Union's version of Tijuan Walker from the Phillies. Tijuan Walker from the Phillies. Quite a comparison there.
Ouch.
But the problem then shows you, and I'm going to bring this back up to LAFC's performance on Wednesday night. LAFC's going for the U.S. Open Cup. Kai Kamara comes in, gets the game sealing header to make it 3-1 against Sporting Kansas City. Last year, Kai Kamara was available for everybody to pick up. Last year was your first year without Corey Burke. Was your first full season without Sergio Santos. And everybody said, okay, who is your backup striker? Who's your third striker? And it was supposed to be Ty Baribo, but obviously the whole thing Carranza didn't pan out. So it's been 2 years now that you have not had a reliable and consistent third striker. And I'm
Mhm.
sorry, and again, Eric, Sean, to your comments, to your point, this isn't good enough. You need to have somebody who can play. And it's very frustrating. And Kyle, any other thoughts on Sam? I know this is not a roasting of Sam at dinner, but go ahead.
Well, it's like the guy has talent. He has shown it before. It's just right now, you don't put him in on a tie game.
Right.
Kind of like the mentality that they have with Caven Sullivan.
Yeah.
It's like you put them in say something like garbage time,
Right.
either a blowout or you have a comfortable lead late in the game.
Mhm.
Then bring him in, let him see if he could tack on or do something with the time that he's given.
Right.
But
And it's funny because Eric mentions Sugarman over here looking
uh,
for money. In all fairness, I do feel if he can find the first goal, he will get rolling.
yeah,
That's
mhm,
fine, Sean. The problem is the season's almost over. That's the
yeah,
only thing I'm going to say against it. And again, you know what's funny though too? A person who has disappeared this season entirely is Marcus Anderson. Completely fell off the face of the earth. He was our third striker early on. He saw some CONCACAF minutes. He had that terrible blunder at Cincinnati that blew the game basically for that match. And that was the last we saw of Marcus Anderson. But that was a lot. That was another example of Ernst Tanner not preparing this team depth wise. That's the same example of why we're relying on a journeyman striker like Sam to piece this together because we haven't really filled the hole. Um, Again, I'm sorry, Sam, if you're listening. I apologize. I didn't mean to roast you. Let's finish up this
nah.
match now. The
Like
final
I said,
20 minutes. Yeah, go
like we
ahead.
said, he has talent.
He
He
has talent.
definitely has talent. And as you mentioned, you do need to get that first goal. I do
Yeah,
agree that. Absolutely, I agree with Eric on that one.
yeah,
It's just can't be. It's like it's during a slump. It ain't going to happen in a tie game like that.
yeah, absolutely. So, the final 20 minutes. Your thoughts on how the Union ended the match?
They basically, well, they tried.
Yeah.
I noticed there was a lot more. They started going back to taking more shots again. So more kudos on the Atlanta defense able to hold that one off.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, I saw Glessons had a screamer at the end. He tried to
Oh,
put one in.
that was tough.
That would have made me feel a little better.
Yeah, that was tough when that didn't go in, but yeah, so yep, Glenn's us with the great shot just over the bar. Uh, the keeper had a great save on
Yep.
Gozdog's shot.
Yep.
Baribo header that missed the box. All that in extra time. Before that, you had Quinn Sullivan, you had Sam taking the shot that got saved. So it they tried like in the last 5 minutes and into extras. They tried. They should have been doing that throughout the second half.
Yeah.
But honestly, we could have seen a completely different game had. Well, of course, we would see a different game because they would have won. But yeah, no, they took a lot of shots late in that second half, trying to find pay dirt, and that's where the unlucky, I would say, comes in.
And you know what? To Eric's point about you said unlucky, in a way they created their luck a bit here too.
Yes.
You get rid of players like Brujo, you get rid of players like Carranza, who really hasn't seen a lot of time. I know he had I think a bit of injury out in the team he got loaned out to, but it does also seem like they've created this luck. And it wasn't that long ago in the summer where you think, man, this team's really deep, and then you get rid of Jose Martinez, you're like, all right, they're not
He
as
was one
deep
of their
anymore.
playmakers. He
What?
was one
Yeah,
of their playmakers.
and think about how important he could have been tonight.
Oh my god. Well, we saw him in his final game during the cup.
Yep, yep,
That was, and he scored a PK, a
yep,
key PK.
yep.
And it's just his presence is missed for sure, and someone needs to step up. McGlynn, I think, is trying to step up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it did. Like I said, he didn't find the back of the net tonight, but he certainly took some shots, and I appreciate that. And going on Eric's comment as well, the union slogan for 2024, "They try." It's like I agree, but it's union slogan for the past 5 games. they try.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
during the the middle section of the season,
hmm
sure didn't feel like they were. Well, it's like no, I'm sure the players do try.
Yeah.
None of them phone it in. It's just that was rough.
How can you have those many performances in a
Hmm.
row? I mean, you had, I think it was a Seattle match, and Seattle walked in here off a West Coast trip,
Oh yeah,
really in poor form, and you blow. Like, there's so many games I can look back on early in that middle part of, like, was it
the first game
May?
against Miami. I think that's what started it.
You think so? Really?
First game against Miami, I think, is what really started their torpedo downwards, where they were up 1-0 against the messyless Miami, and then they ended up losing 3-1, while up 2 players from due to red cards.
I see my. I think my brain was trying to help me forget that game. Appreciate you bringing that up for me.
Yeah. I apologize. I apologize for opening that wound there.
But
But
it's
I think that was the real
yeah.
start of that lull, and they finally started pulling themselves back out of it. Unfortunately, it's that they're in a very tough position.
Well, listen. I mean, you get Atlanta to score in the 72nd minute, so you still have about 20 minutes to go, right?
Hmm.
Okay, great. Let's how are we gonna win this game back? The
Yeah.
problem is you made 3 of your 5 subs, right? But after DJJ, Bedoya, and Sam, you have Olivier, Cavan, the goalie, Raffanello, Bueno, and Kirsten.
Hmm.
It's not like you have Ilsinho on the bench. It's not like you have some like prolific playmaker on the bench.
Yeah.
You made those 3 subs and you kind of just screwed yourself into kind of getting back into this match. And I think again, Kyle, I think you made a great point. Maybe they should have waited an extra 5-10 minutes before those subs came in.
Hmm. Yeah. It's like I said. It's I think they brought in uh I think well I think they brought in Bedoya a little too early. I understand switching out Ura because of the card.
Yeah.
Fine, protect him. But I think they brought in Bedoya too early, and I think they brought in Samuel too early. Like I would have brought in Samuel maybe in like the last 5 minutes, maybe 10, and then put in Bedoya when they put in Sam.
It almost felt like okay, we got a 1-0 lead, let's hold it. Rather than
Hmm.
let's get a we have a
Yes,
1-0, let's see, let's now expand on it. And I think
exactly.
I know people who watch the show and comment on before, people say, where's Bueno? Where's Bueno? Where's Bueno? This is a match where I would have liked to see the fieriness of Jesus Bueno on the right hand
Hmm.
side. If you're gonna make the shifts and
Yeah.
changes, I know Bedoya is a captain, and I really like Alejandro. And statistically speaking, he's actually had a very decent year.
Hmm.
You don't have to play him every game, especially because you play on Wednesday night at Orlando, and you might need him down there with some leadership on the
Hmm.
field.
Yeah.
Put Bueno in there. They can play the same position.
Hmm.
You know, again, it goes back to Curtin. It goes back to the bench. And so everything that's we've talked about in the mind-numbingly amount of this past season to the point where I'm almost tired of talking about it. But it just all comes back to everything has trickled down into these little moments where the margins are so razor thin for the Union. And in games like today, it absolutely crushes you.
Yeah. Now they need to win out against Cincy and Columbus and Orlando. All of which are the within the top 5 on the table.
Exactly. And Eric says this goes back to the consistent lack of depth since 2022 and making the cover even more bare by some of the players that did this year. They talk winning, yet do the opposite. It's so hard to buy in when there's zero sense of a plan by the front office. And that's why many people are saying maybe it's better if the Union do not make the playoffs. Because maybe ownership will see this isn't good enough. Kyle, is that what do you? I know that's
Yes
a
and
big statement.
no.
Go ahead.
It feels like they're stepping over a dollar to save a penny,
Sure, sure,
if that makes sense.
it does.
It's like I understand they struck while the iron was hot in the transfers that they did,
Yeah,
but they needed to acquire someone,
yeah.
and they had the opportunities, as you said, that one guy who's killing it
Oh, Kai
out west.
Kamara last year,
Yeah,
yeah. hmm
yeah, they absolutely could have snagged him, or it just someone they needed a spark instead of saving money, because who are they going to go for in the transfer wire after the season?
And that's and again we have talked about that as well. It's like it's not so much who, it's more that will they. right? Will they actually go after that person? Will they try to push? And again, we've told the owners we don't need Messi. Give me a Cucho. Give me an Acosta. Give me a
Yeah.
Ricky Pooch. Give me some player, not some multi-billion-dollar player. Just give me someone who's going to come into the
Yeah.
match and just make an impact. Colin joins us. Not a good result. Not good vibes in the River End. As Patrick was Colin. Can I? I'm going to hold on real quick about this. I was listening to this match on my phone, and Colin, I agreed 100%. I thought the River End was very quiet tonight on the
Hmm.
television. Maybe it was just the way the mics are set up. I don't know, but
It was a crappy day out.
yeah, I mean, it's a Saturday night, Kyle.
Yeah,
I
yes, yes,
mean,
yes. Saturday night, it is a home game against a team that's actually lower than them in the standings. They
they could have.
could have
Yeah.
heard something good, but
Eric mentions again the ownership. Phillies went all in. Eagles go for it. Even the Sixers. The Union just dipped their toes. Again, I didn't go. I have no will to do so. Not sure if I go. Eric's just venting. This is a safe space for you, Eric. Just let it all out. But listen,
but
yeah, go ahead.
going on his earlier one with the Phillies went all in, Eagles went all in.
Yeah,
Did the Sixers really go all in, or did they just trust the process some more?
they're trusting the process with
Yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of cheddar
exactly.
this year. Big
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so we got three matches again. Orlando on Wednesday night, 7:30. You have Columbus Saturday night at 7:45. That's a weird start time. And then the last game, decision day, at home against Cincinnati, 6 o'clock p.m. on the 19th of October. Colin says it didn't feel as pumped up as it should have, knowing how important these 3 points
Hmm.
were. And Colin, as you know with me and my issues with the Sons of Ben this year, I have a lot to say about that, which I'll hold for another episode. And they go all in since then. They rebuilt and did. Yeah, it was poor, but it was a plan better than the front office of the Union. We're talking about the Sixers. I get that, Eric.
Yeah, no, yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough.
So, Kyle, I want to try to put words in your mouth here. Are you saying the Union have to win out to make the playoffs?
Because of this result, yes. Either they
Will they?
either win out
Yeah,
or they need at least two. I said it before this, be, before tonight's game.
yeah.
Out of the remaining four games, they need to win at least two to have a fighter's chance at a playoff spot.
So you're saying at least then 7 points of the next three
Yes,
games.
yes, because I know that Toronto, like you said, Toronto's probably going to win tonight. NYCFC is
They won.
doing well. Yeah,
Yeah.
they won.
Mhm.
So it's like the Union right now, we're sitting at 36 points.
Yep.
Toronto's at 36, NYCFC and Charlotte are at 41, and then you got Orlando at 43. They're probably not going to be passing any. They're not going to be passing Orlando. Probably not going to pass Charlotte or NYC because
Not anymore.
they'll probably win at least a game or two.
Yeah. Or
So
go ahead.
yeah, so it's like right now you have your main competition is Toronto, Montreal, and Nashville and DC. You already beat DC, very good. You can't play them again, unfortunately, to keep winning. So you need to make the games against, say, like Atlanta count. You need the games against Orlando to count, and at the very least, you need to settle for a draw against Cincinnati and Columbus.
That's a
But so
tall task.
it is a very tall task because now, like I said, the remaining games are against all members of the top five on the table. So
And Eric brings a good
this
point.
was a must-win game,
Yeah, Eric brings a
and
good
they
point. Go
one
ahead.
point.
Yeah,
So
finish. They get close to the finish line. Even in a game, get close to finish up, and that's so Union. That's where it came from. Those early, mid 2010, 12, 16 matches where you just like, oh, here we go again. Here you go
mhm.
again. Another game. Looking back at the scoreboard for tonight, I know you had talked about Toronto and all that.
Mhm.
Toronto is up 1-0 in the 78th minute at Chicago. You
Mhm.
have Orlando is now 3-2 against Dallas in the 90th minute. They're still probably gonna pull that off.
Mhm.
Going on list. I'm sorry. Bear with me here. New England beat Nashville 1-0. Charlotte and Miami tied. LAFC beat 2-1 over Cincinnati. So again, some of those results already at a finish here. But
Yeah.
when you look at again the final three games, Cincinnati and Columbus are vying for spots at the top of the table. As of tonight, they were tied in points. The
Mhm.
supporter shield's out of the question at this point. And
Oh,
now they're fighting for that second spot, right? You're fighting for that second spot.
Yeah.
Eric says, "Where's the Mboli clip? That would be the icing on the cake." I don't know if you were
Yeah.
a fan of the Union at that point. Do you remember Rice Mboli, Kyle?
Bits and pieces. That was before I really started getting back into soccer.
It's probably good you don't remember him because it's. I'm just gonna save you from the PTSD. But again, you look at these next three games. You're playing both of those teams who are fighting for the second spot. There's absolutely no way they're gonna just choke it up to the Union. And if I'm Cincinnati or Columbus, I don't want to be playing the Union in the playoffs because we
Nope.
took it to Cincinnati and held our own, and we could have beaten Columbus. We could have, and they
Yep.
didn't. So go ahead, Kyle. What do you
Yeah.
think?
It's like, well, I don't know. It's frustrating to see. They need to. They aren't winning the games that they need to win. That's what's frustrating. So it doesn't matter how good they are in the playoffs. If
Yeah,
you don't get to the playoffs, which it doesn't matter. Step one is making the playoffs. Period. Period.
yeah,
So with 9 points remaining, well, yeah, Charlotte and NYC are within that 9 point range. Hell, Orlando's within that 9 point range. That it's always better to have your destiny in your own hands
yeah,
than have to rely on things falling your way with other teams.
yeah.
And I will leave it at that. And that's why I say that they need to win. They need to win 2 games and
Mhm.
draw the third one to have a fighter's chance of getting that spot.
And really, you have to hope that by the time you get to the October 19th game against Cincinnati, they cannot move from their position.
Yes.
They're locked in the playoff spot.
Mm-hmm.
They have a week before their next match. Let's just rest up our team. You want to see the B squad in there against Cincinnati and hope that they can just let the Union walk in and get whatever they need to get. Eric says they're just going to basically get our hopes up. They're going to pull one off, get our hopes up, and just lay the egg. JD Walker, your pal JD from Stream
Mm-hmm.
Punk, says, "Good evening, folks. Win in Orlando or they're done, period. They're not getting shit in Columbus." And you know what? I think, JD, I think you're spot on. I think you have to beat Orlando. I understand,
Yes.
Kyle, we were
Oh yeah.
saying at least two of the next three,
Mm-hmm.
but I think one of those has to be against Orlando.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. It's because Orlando is within that 9 point range.
Yeah.
Like I said, you're not passing the Crew, you're not passing Cincinnati, you're not passing NYC Red Bulls. But if you want to get one of those spots, you need to get yourself up in the standings. You're not doing that with draws.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And again, the MLS, the Eastern Conference is a weird conference. A lot of poor, mediocre teams. So maybe things fall their way, and you can get lucky with a draw here or there. But again, fate is still in your own hands a bit. A bit. I say that. I say it lightly.
They need to win to have the fate in their own
Yeah,
hands.
exactly. And Kyle mentions a lot of fans in River End tonight didn't know about the standing rule. Again, Colin and Eric, I would like to have like a good River End show, maybe over the off season. So Eric, make time for me in your busy schedule. Colin, you too. I would love to talk to people who sit in the River End a lot to have like a little powwow on an off season show. So we'll talk about that off air here. But final thoughts, Kyle, before we sign off. Again, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate making a last minute appearance for me. Where can people find you? And
Um,
anything coming up in the near future for you too?
well, I do intend to be at the Columbus game, the final home game of the season, and the final game of the season.
Yep.
They are finishing off at home, which is nice.
Hmm.
But as we mentioned before, this one was a must-win game that they only got 1 point out of. And while
Hmm.
it's better than 0 points, yes, it's not what you want to see. And now they have an uphill battle
Yep.
ahead of them to make the playoffs. They needed this one, and unfortunately they face planted.
Absolutely. Eric says that's so Union. That's his final thought tonight. And again, they're in first, so we'll have a good show for the River End. I know you do some photography work, right? I know.
I do. I'm generally found on Instagram, KRK Freelance or K7 Sniper, whichever you prefer.
Awesome.
Uh, you mainly will see my work on Streampunk Entertainment and Streampunk Sports.
Yep.
I mostly do photos for the Philadelphia Union
Mhm.
with them, and otherwise you'll probably see me at my day job working at the University of Delaware.
Oh, Okay, you Dale. I see. Awesome. Danny says there are many times it seemed to let up the pressure after they
Yes.
score. Really is very no. Again, Danny, the goal only came 10 minutes after, and that's really it was too soon,
It's
in my
like,
opinion.
don't get me wrong, Blake is amazing.
Yeah,
You you can't just let him. You got to help him.
exactly. You just
Got to
gotta
help
help
him.
them. Again, my final thought for tonight. Thank you everybody for joining us. We'll try to have a post game show Wednesday night after the match if we can. Schedules right now, all of our kids are sick too. I was sick again. Like it's just we're trying to get through these next couple weeks. But again, if you can join us on Wednesday night or at least next Saturday, we'll be live for a post game show soon. We'll be discussing a few things for the offseason as well, depending on how these next couple weeks go. Otherwise, you can find me on Twitter, Embraer1323, or Facebook, Miguel Reyes. You see me guys comment on there as well on the Union page. Again, this is across the pitch. Union fall, I guess, 1-1, and then draw at home. And our next match is Wednesday night. Have a good night, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you. Go Union.